Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we're going to be talking about an upcoming major snowstorm out west and also for possibly some portions of the upper Midwest and the Great Plains. Now before we get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now I would also highly recommend that you check out our very awesome Patreon page. We're actually going to be doing an in-depth breakdown of Tropical Storm Eta over there on our Patreon page. So if you are curious about that one, it is potentially going to be hitting Cuba and then Florida. So if you want to check that out, you can do so by checking out the Patreon page. Anyways, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, which state do you think is going to get the most snowfall from this storm? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at our European model, and this is actually for this morning, Friday, November 6th. As you can see, we do have some precipitation moving onshore to the Pacific Northwest. We do see some snowfall going on for the Cascades and the Rockies as well. A lot of early season storms like this before cold air has moved in will start out as snowfall for those high elevation areas. Eventually that's going to fill in as snow for even the low-lying areas, obviously. So we're going to see that in a minute. Now here's by time we're at about maybe 4 p.m. or so on Friday, so later in the day today actually, and what we're going to see is that snowfall is going to make its way down through Oregon, Nevada, California as well, portions of Montana, but still, this is not the filled in snowfall that we're going to be seeing later on, so we're going to see much more major snowfall later on in this model run. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to move on towards tomorrow at around noontime, and we're going to see that snowstorm move further eastward. We're going to see more and more snow, and then we're going to see this one become a very major snowstorm in just a moment. Now, in the thumbnail, I really did try to pinpoint the track of this storm, but it really is going to be all over the place. I wanted it to make sense, so I really dumbed it down on that thumbnail. Really, this is going to be a very widespread snowfall event from multiple areas of low pressure that move in with cold air. This will overall be a very complex situation. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this frame. And again, this is maybe by about noontime on Saturday, November 7th. And as you can see, it's still lighter snow, and there's multiple areas of low pressure, but we're seeing snowfall for a lot of the mountains in California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. There's some spread around snow showers, I would say. But really, it starts to come together at approximately 11 p.m. on Saturday, so very, very late that night. We're going to start to see this one really begin to see some heavy snowfall, especially, again, for Nevada, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. We also see Arizona and New Mexico. New Mexico is probably going to get some in a moment. Not yet, but they will in just a moment. But as you can see, just very heavy snowfall. And it really, if there was some winds with this one, it would be a blizzard. But the winds are going to be quite tame, so I don't foresee this one being a blizzard. But it might as well be, because outside of the winds being light-ish, and just not heavy enough to be considered a blizzard, the snow is going to be very heavy. We're going to see lots of accumulation. This is going to be a very major snowstorm for a lot of the Rockies and surrounding regions. So what we're actually going to do here is we are going to move on, and we're going to move on towards the morning hours on Sunday, November 8th, where things are going to get even more snowy, more heavy, and we're going to start to see that snow really accumulating fast. Alright, so here we are again. It's the morning hours on Sunday, November 8th, and look at that. The cold has officially moved in. Remember, I said it's going to be mostly a high elevation event, but once the cold air moves in, it's going to be very widespread. We can see pretty much all of Idaho, most of Montana, a lot of western Wyoming, a lot of western and mountainous regions in Colorado, a ton of Utah, Nevada, California is still getting some snowfall for the mountains out there. Very heavy snowfall there between Idaho and Montana, as well as there in southern Wyoming through Colorado into New Mexico. Those are two of the kind of bullseye regions for this storm, as we're going to see that very heavy snow last a very long time. And now, finally, this is maybe by the very early hours on Monday, November 9th. We still have that very heavy snowfall going on for the Four Corner States. Things are lightening up for Idaho and Montana there, as there's some snow showers for Montana, but really, it's lightening up. Also notice the air has gotten very cold. We see those blue lines indicating a strong trough over the western United States. That high pressure system is in place there over Montana as well. The snow is going to begin to move further east and move out of the area, but the cold air is going to really move in and it's going to stick around. So I do expect that whatever snow accumulates will stick around for quite a while as we have that cold air moving in right behind it. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to move on towards what I would call the second portion of this storm, or the second phase of this storm. So what it's going to do is it's eventually going to move towards possibly the plains and then the upper Midwest. We're going to take a look at that portion of this storm in just a moment. And then also what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a look at the modeled snowfall forecast from like 5 or 6 different models. So stay tuned for that for sure. All right, now here we are taking a look at that second phase of this storm. This is by the noontime hours on Monday, November 9th. We're just a few days away. This is about 3 days from now. This one does kind of vary on the models. We will see that once we take a look at the total snowfall. But we can see a lot of snowfall still going on for the 4 corner states. But as we take it to what I would say is probably about 10 a.m. or so on Tuesday, November 10th, we can see that this becomes mostly a plains and upper Midwest snowstorm, potentially ice storm as well. As we can see in those pinks, some heavy freezing rain potentially. We don't need any more ice in the central regions of the United States, as we just saw a devastating ice storm for portions of the more southern central United States. We see some moderate snowfall going on for Nebraska, South Dakota. There, we see a 999 millibar low pressure center moving pretty much directly north from this point. And then by time of reaching the later evening hours, I would say maybe 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 10th here, we see heavy snowfall here for especially Minnesota, but also Wisconsin, portions of Iowa, the Dakotas, especially the eastern regions there. So this is, again, a feature that mostly the European model is favoring. It thinks we're going to see a lot of snowfall throughout that second phase of this storm. The other models have a little bit less with this second phase. So we're going to take a look at both options, and probably what's going to need to happen is we'll need to make an update video for that second phase. It's practically a separate storm, but I felt like featuring it because it is kind of derived from that first initial snowstorm that we've been talking about throughout this video. Very, very major snowfall with this first storm. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to take a look at the snowfall forecast according to the European model, our GFS model, and then we're also going to get into the ensemble models, the European ensemble, the GFS ensemble model, and then we're going to get into our Canadian model, and then finally our German model. So again, we're going to be very thorough and go over pretty much every single modeled forecast here. All right, so first things first, here we are taking a look at that European model. And again, this one is the heaviest with the snowfall. So first things first, you might notice the snow is very widespread. Again, I mentioned this is going to be a very, very major snow situation. And really for early November, this isn't unheard of, but this is going to be very dramatic. Now, first off, if you're in the grays, I don't expect that you will see much of accumulation at all. That's probably just where you'll see flakes. If you're in the blues, that's where you're at about 1 inch to 6 inches, I would say. In the purples, that's where you're at about 6 to 9 inches. And there's not a lot of purples because it pretty much just goes straight to pinks, which is where you're at about 9 to 20 inches. And we notice those kind of lighter blues, and then even it turns into like a pinkish hue, I would say. And that is where we're at about 20 to possibly 40 inches plus. This right here, this model, is saying that the maximum on this map right now is 90 inches of snow somewhere. So I'm thinking that's probably in southern Colorado right there, or portions of Montana, potentially also portions of Canada there. But anyway, those pink shades that are within the blues, that's basically where you're at least 36 inches of snow according to this model. So very, very major snowstorm situation according to this model. Also take note of that second phase area there for Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota. Generally a good 1 to 6 inches of snow, with the purples being a good 6 to 9 inches of snow. We even have some pinks up there for Minnesota where it got very heavy. That's where we're probably at about 9 to 16 inches of snow. So the European model does have quite a moderate to major snowstorm for those regions with that second one. The GFS model, heavy out west, still pretty similar to the European model, although with that second phase, much lighter. So we're going to watch that very closely. The models are varying on what they think is going to happen with that second phase. Here's your European ensemble model. And keep in mind, it is showing much less snowfall, but that's because this is taking the average of like 60 or 50 different models and putting it together. So you get a very averaged out. Also, it's very low resolution. So this isn't going to pick up on a very small area seeing a lot of accumulation like maybe the normal European model would. So there's a lot of reasons why, but mostly what we're looking for is it showing snow in the same areas? And the answer to that is yes. GFS ensemble model, same story. It's showing snowfall in the same exact regions. So that means that gets kind of its I would call it its ensemble support for our deterministic models. All right, now here's our Canadian model. And this one is a bit lighter than I think what the GFS and the European models are showing, but still generally 12 inches plus in many of those pink regions, with some pretty widespread areas of potentially, 12 to 20 inches of snow, especially for the Cascades, those mountains in California, portions of the Southern Rockies, and then also north central portions of Montana as well. Finally, here's our German model, and this one's interesting. It keeps a lot less snowfall there for the Cascades in California, but it does have quite a bit there for Montana and Colorado, as pretty much most of the other models we've taken a look at do as well. All right, now for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what is your favorite winter month? And Falcondoip said December, especially when we get a white Christmas. I've only had one white Christmas in my entire life, and that was the 2010 Boxing Day snowstorm. That was a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive. All right, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our diamond patrons, Michael Codalesa, Mad Birds, Felix Wheatfield, Michael Buell, Mariah Vieira, Alicia Davis, Catbite, Terry Curtis, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Kellen Manhart, Noah Harley, and Mark J, alongside our platinum patrons, Adam S., Gary Fiffle, Alan Belemo, Donna Carnage, Justin Quantrell, Dovey Nagel, Larry LePan, James Wade, and Cameron Marshall. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.